Um, Hi, it's Josh here. I'm back with a kind of different video today. But before I start, I want to give a massive shout out to Tom, who's inspired me to do this video. He recently posted a video about his struggle with Asperger's syndrome, which I found incredibly moving, and I've been inspired to create my own video describing my own personal condition, which for this instance will be type 1 diabetes. So suppose I should start by explaining what type 1 diabetes is. It is a autoimmune disorder in which the insulin producing cells in your pancreas, which is your organ responsible for controlling and keeping your blood sugar glucose levels normal and regulate them normally, have been completely destroyed. So your body has recognized for some reason that your insulin producing cells are a danger to your body and they've just been completely destroyed. So yeah, that's what's going on with me right now. So yeah, I'm gonna be talking about my personal journey with this condition and the effect it's had on me and possibly others over the last couple of years. Oh, this is going to be tough. Right, suppose I should go back to where it all began. I was in high school. I was 15. Struggling away through GCSE year, and I was living with my nan at the time. And whilst I was there, I was experiencing these weird symptoms, like I would be drinking profusely, I would be going to the toilet multiple times a day in the middle of the night. I'd be feeling consistently tired and just fatigued. And yeah, there's a very common trait amongst when you can spot diabetes symptoms that your breath has like a pear drop smell, which my family recognized instantly because the majority of my family is type 2 diabetic, so they kind of recognize the symptoms because they're kind of similar. And so I told my nan about it because she's type 2 diabetic, and she got out a blood glucose testing kit like this, which I have to use now every single day. And she tested it, and the result was not good. It came back as the letters HI. And if it comes up with that on the meter, it's not good. It means that your meter cannot even detect what your actual blood sugar levels are because they've literally gone off the scale. And we thought it was just a fluke, so we tried it again, but nope, same result came back up. And I explained all the symptoms to her, like dehydration, feeling tired. I'd lost a considerable amount of weight as well. And so we're like, right, you need to dial 111 immediately. And so we did. And I remember the official date now, I think it's 14th of March 2016. I was rushed into hospital and I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, which was quite the shock. And I'll be honest, it really was not what I needed at the time. I was already in quite a sad state as it is. I mean, I was stressing through GCSE levels. My parents were going through a very shit divorce at the time. And now I get diagnosed with this shit. So, not the most pleasant of feelings. I remember lying in a hospital bed with just liters of fluid being dripped into my arm. And I was sat there by myself and I was just thinking, like, what have I done to deserve this? Because going through high school as well, like, it wasn't a fun 5-6 years for me. It really wasn't. I was bullied quite badly. I had to move school within the first year, and then the last 4 years weren't exactly any better. And I'll be honest with myself, I didn't help myself in those situations. I did react to what people were calling and doing to me, which only made the situation worse. But I remember something that was quite ironic at the time. I think I was on a bus going to school, and I used to drink a lot of sugary drinks, and I think one person said to me, right, if you keep up drinking that stuff, you're going to end up with some condition like diabetes. And lo and behold, a few weeks later, I get diagnosed. So, bit ironic, eh? But yeah, no, finding out that I was type 1 diabetic, I really didn't know what to do with myself because I didn't know what it even meant. But no, it's a lot more complicated than most people would have you believe. Like, most people think is, oh yeah, you just give yourself an injection of insulin and oh yeah, that's it. Then you're done for the day. But no, it's a lot more complicated than that. And to be honest, it had an impact on me, but I think for some reason it had an impact on other people as well. Like, when I got back to school, I think the following week, like, the bullying kind of got gradually less and less worse after I got diagnosed, which I don't know why. For some reason, I think people just took pity on me, which I didn't really want. Like, I wanted people to see me for, like, what I actually am as a person, not just by my condition. And to be honest, it felt good not being bullied every single day, but it also just kind of felt disheartening and just like, why would you all of a sudden just flip the switch like that and just like take pity on me over something that's just completely changed who I am, which it hasn't. But yeah, God, I don't know what to say now. Right, I'm just going to explain what I have to do on a daily basis, right? Right, so as I showed earlier, I have a blood glucose meter, which I use to test my blood sugar levels. It's quite, not exactly the most complicated bit of machinery. You literally you stab your finger with this, and using tester strips in this little pot here, put it into the machine, and then you put your blood sample on it, and then it just gives you a blood reading. And if it's anywhere between 4 and 7, then it's a good reading. If it's anything below 4, it's what is called hypoglycemia, or low blood sugar levels. But because we don't really like to say the hypoglycemia levels, we just shorten it to hypo. Well, most diabetics do anyway, or we just say it's low. And if it's well, in my case, if it's anything above 10 to 15, then that's considered a hyperglycemia, or high blood sugar levels. And again, we just shorten that to hypo, or high. So yeah, every time I have to have a meal, or if my blood sugar levels are too high, I have to inject myself with these bad boys. And this is, in my case, this is called Nova Rapid insulin, which is fast-acting insulin. So you inject it, it takes roughly about 2 to 3 hours to fully kick in. And the amount you give yourself is what's known as a units to carbohydrate ratio. So for every certain amount of grams of carbohydrates you have in your meal, you'd give yourself a unit of insulin. So in my case, I'm on a 1 to 7 units carbohydrate ratio, I think I am. Yeah. So for every 7 grams of carbohydrates, I'd have to give myself 1 unit of insulin. So yeah, I'm on 2 types of insulin, but there's multiple types of insulins around the world. But I'm on something else called Tresiba, which is a long-acting insulin. So normally you take this either when you go to bed or when you first wake up in the morning, and you'd give yourself a certain amount because it slowly releases it during the day. As to where you actually inject these things, for long-acting insulin, it's probably best to go sort of in the legs, like down by the side next to your buttocks. And for the short-acting insulin, it's probably best to either go in your arm, just over there, or in your stomach. But you also have to remember that you have to change your sites of injection, because when you inject in the same site for too long, your skin starts to harden up underneath the surface, and you don't want that. So, yeah. That's pretty much it for insulin and sugar levels base-wise, but now I'm going to explain what happens when it goes horribly wrong, which in my case has happened twice in the last 6 months. And Yeah. So in January of this year, 2020, I was experiencing the same symptoms that I was feeling when I first got diagnosed, which was like drastic weight loss, constantly feeling tired, like really short fatigue, and this was caused by me having really bad control of my condition. I will be honest with this now. My control has been up and down over the years. Like for times it will go really well for a few months, and then I'll just have one little slip up and it'll just go straight back down to square one. And in this case, it got to the point where it nearly killed me, which was quite a scary process. Because once you've been diagnosed as diabetic and your sugar levels go too high again, you can develop what's known as diabetic ketoacidosis, which is where your body starts producing bad hormones called ketones, which can essentially poison your kidneys, poison your liver, and anything else used to regulate and control your blood sugar levels. So your insulin tolerance, like your injection tolerance, is now considerably worse. And so, yeah, I was experiencing those symptoms again. I got rushed into hospital. I said, right, you have ketoacidosis, and I never really fully understood how serious it was until my dad actually gave me a pep talk saying, right, you could have died. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever seen my family look so broken and possibly disappointed in me in my entire life. But it wasn't until after they left I was in an intensive care unit for quite a while whilst they pumped liters and liters of saline into my system to try and clear my bloodstream. Because when I went in there, my blood was coming out like really, really thick. Like really thick viscosity. And yeah. But it wasn't until after my family left and I was in the ICU, I was having a talk with the doctor, and they literally told me if you'd have gone to bed that night, you weren't waking up. And I think that's the thing that hit me hardest. I literally sat up on the hospital bed and just broke down and wept. Like full on, head in hands, just bawling my eyes out thinking, what have I done? Because this was self-inflicted. And the worst thing is it happened quite recently. I think it's coming up to 2 weeks ago now. I was experiencing the same symptoms again. I'd gone back into the same downward spiral that I swore I'd never get myself into again. And it wasn't as bad as the one in January, but even so, it's still quite a scary thing to imagine. And yeah, that's a common misconception about this disease, is that most people think, oh yeah, you can just get rid of it. With type 2, yes, you can recover from it. Type 1, no, you're stuck with this. I'm stuck with this for the rest of my life, so I wish things were different, but I think over the last 4 years since I've had this now, I've definitely learned a lot, but I'm still learning more things every day about this condition. And especially during this current outbreak, now I'm a high risk with this coronavirus thing. Literally, all I have to do is just like go out, do some shopping, and go back home. Because if I catch it, then I'm screwed. There's that constant fear hanging over your shoulder that something else could just come along and just wipe you off the planet. Not such a nice feeling. No, I'm gonna finish off with some sort of stereotypes that are associated with diabetics, and which after speaking with other people that I know that have type 1 diabetes, I mean, I work with someone who has diabetes, I went to school with someone who has type 1 diabetes. She came to visit me in the hospital when I first got diagnosed, actually, so I would always appreciate that. And yeah, after speaking with a couple of them, some of the things they've told me that they've heard off of other people sort of coincides with some things I've heard as well. And one thing especially with, which is very common, is the weight loss. And people say, oh yeah, you must be so lucky to just lose weight like in an instant. I'm like, no, we're not lucky about it at all. Unless you want to lose weight, like as in on a regular balanced diet, 99% of the time, our weight loss isn't exactly a choice. Because when you don't regulate your blood sugar levels properly, your body resorts to using up all your stored fat to get rid of weight and uses that as energy instead of normal sugar. That's something people just don't understand about it. Another thing is that people just assume that, oh yeah, you're diabetic, you can't eat sugary things. You are allowed to eat sugary things as long as you give the correct amount of insulin required for it. However, it's not highly recommended. But I'd say to myself, I'm picky when it comes to like food and drink and stuff. Like I'll only drink, well nowadays I'll only drink like non-sugary things. I learned my lesson from that. But no, when it comes to like sugary stuff that's like high in carbohydrates and stuff, like you can eat those things. It's just you have to balance that out with your insulin injections. And again, that's something that people just don't seem to understand. Another thing that people are not really sure about is how much it actually affects like fatigue and stamina. Because I do sports. I do play football quite often, but my stamina is completely shocking, and it's not down to like how fit I am. I mean, I'm a regularly skinny guy. I mean, I can run pretty well, but because of my condition, my stamina is completely shocking. It's completely shocking, and I see that's due to having high blood sugar levels or constantly feeling low. Because when you exercise, your blood sugar levels go all over the place. It's just ridiculous. And a lot of people don't seem to have a good grasp on that and how it affects fatigue and stamina and how much you can exercise. I mean, obviously there are people who have like got past this. I mean, I've seen plenty of people with type 1 diabetes. I mean, they've been completely shredded and like some of the fittest people in the game. I mean, there's professional footballers out there who have type 1 diabetes. I mean, I think there's a Real Madrid player who has type 1. So yeah, it doesn't exactly limit how much you can do, but it impacts it, if you get what I mean. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this for now. I hope this has been a relevant topic of discussion. I may not be the best person to explain type 1 diabetes after what I've put myself through, I guess. But yeah, I hope maybe this inspires other people with underlying health conditions to come out and talk about this. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.